everybody, Jay Young here with the Jay Young Show. I'm my beautiful co-host, Jordan Soto.
Hello.
Hey, Jordan, how are you?
Oh, just peachy keen.
Man, I tell you, NAPE's here.
Yes.
NAPE's here. We got a great guest, Howard Selzer, finance guru. Can I call you a guru?
I think so.
I mean, transactions of the multitude that you've done, man, it's just a lot. So
Yeah.
hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to have Howard on today. We're just going to talk briefly about what Howard, how did he get started?
Yeah.
What's some of the big transactions you've had? What does it take in this market today? Where do you see the markets going? So let's.
That's kind of
let's
the
let's go.
That's kind of the whole show right
Yeah.
there. But yeah, no, I think that's a great place to start. Is like how. So let's go back to the beginning. Like, how did you get your start? What made you interested in this? I mean, a lot of people get excited about doing business, but they don't know how to get started doing business. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that first.
So I started a long time ago with a company called City Service Company. That was then purchased by Occidental. I started out as a general ledger accountant, and this was back before you had personal computers. So we actually kept hand ledgers.
Wow. So what's the biggest difference between that and nowadays? I mean, it's probably just so much quicker.
So yeah, now you do things differently. We spent a lot of time putting together journal vouchers back then, when now you spend a lot more time doing analysis.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's actually kind of helped you do more and get into more deals and analyze them more.
Okay.
So I did that. I worked for them in the Houston office, and then I got transferred to Africa, to the Congo.
What?
Which was real rudimentary, and so I did that for a year in the Congo before coming back to the States.
Wow.
Wow. That's
Jay,
a lot.
would you ever go to the Congo?
Africa, Congo? I don't think for oil and gas. I don't know what. So what does that have to do with finance, or what?
So that was my start. So I have an accounting background.
Okay, your accounting background.
CPA, and after that I went to a company called Aquitaine, which is now owned by Total.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where when personal computers started coming out more, and I learned how to do those. And then as I grew up through the accounting ranks, I learned a little bit about finance and dealing with some financings and some acquisitions.
Yeah.
The first acquisition I did was with Elf, when we bought a company called Huffco, which is a Roy Huffington type company.
Yeah. Was it scary? Like, I mean, that's your first time. You'd never done this before. Like, what was the emotions going through that?
Well, they made you sign a confidentiality agreement, basically, that if you ever talked to anyone about it, you'd be fired. So, yeah, it was kind of scary when you're in your mid-20s.
Yes.
And you're signing that, and you can't talk to anyone about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so like, okay, question here. I mean, Jay, you've probably gone through this too, when you're going through a big deal, a big contract, and you can't really talk to anybody about it. How do you ideate and like just in the people in that circle that have also signed that contract, or like how do you know that you're stepping forward with firm footing if like you're not allowed to talk to anybody about that?
Well, you're put in a group, and even though you might be sitting in your regular office, you may not be working with your neighbor on the deal, but there's other people you're working with. So after I did that deal, I actually got transferred to Elf's Paris office.
Okay.
And my first big acquisition deal was a UK company.
Okay.
And again, we were told absolute silence.
Oh,
and,
gosh,
and I couldn't
nerve-wracking.
even tell my boss about it.
Oh my goodness.
Because I wasn't. He wasn't part of the team.
Oh gosh.
So but that was probably the first acquisition where I kind of worked on doing the negotiating. Helping get the documents signed, and actually doing a lot of the due diligence.
Got it. So you have, $600 million worth of acquisitions under your belt? Is that number right?
Yeah, that's mainly when I moved into the private equity side.
Oh, okay. So we had a transition. So we started in accounting, and then we went into the...
Private equity. In 2010, I was the chief accounting officer for a quantum company.
Okay.
And we did an IPO.
Oh, I see.
And the type of company it was a constant acquisition company. So we did a lot of acquisitions.
Got it.
There, and that was kind of my second job within the private sector.
Got it.
Not a public company, and so that's where I kind of transitioned into doing more transactions.
Yeah. Jay and I were talking earlier today about how, if you're going to get in, know how to get out, have the exit strategy. So whenever you're looking at deals and you're looking and reflecting, what has been the biggest or best opportunity for an exit strategy whenever somebody's looking to do an acquisition, or like, do people go in constantly thinking, okay, I'm gonna sell this and get out, or is it I'm gonna buy this and I'm gonna keep this?
So in private equity, you go in to get out.
Okay,
So,
noted. I'm learning.
There you go.
Jay
No,
knows.
I never knew that when I worked on the public side.
Okay.
But once I moved into the private side, I learned that very quickly.
Okay.
And so the last company I worked with, I worked 6 years with a company called Laredo Energy. We had assets in South Texas. And so when I went in there, and we were for sale every day. We had a lot of financing to straighten out.
I see.
And get that done. And then we went through COVID. And then the key to getting out is opportunity.
Okay.
So luck is very good to have.
Yes.
And the Ukraine issue
Yeah.
reared its head in 2022 as we were putting ourselves on the market.
Got it.
And that definitely helped that transaction. And that really helps a lot because we had a lot of false starts in the years prior to that where we tried to sell ourselves and nobody was really interested.
So wait, I didn't even ask this question earlier, but how do you two know each other?
Yeah, through Steve Mulligan, our Chief Operating Officer, Steve Mulligan, put us in touch with each other.
Yeah, we worked together for a couple of years.
Fun. Oh, that's
Steve-
great.
About 3 years.
Yeah.
And he's a legend in what he does, and so we're like, hey, we need help with our financing.
Yeah.
Is there any way possible that we could work together? So we're talking about that now, and he's
Oh, that's exciting.
going to help us put together some of our debt that we have right now in growing our business. So
Right.
it takes really, and we talked about this earlier, it takes a really good team, which we have a really good team. We have some great assets that we can grow, and we need financing. And
Yeah.
we do the equity side pretty good, but we don't do the debt very well, so we're bringing in someone like Howard that has that experience, that knows banks or that knows how to put things on the right side of the ledger, maybe.
Right,
Is that
right.
the right way to say it? But,
Yeah.
but just kind of what they're looking for and what a bank's looking for, financial institutions,
Right.
just so we can kind of get it
To
the
make it
next level.
more attractive to people that are investing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the debt side. So he's in the
Okay.
debt side with what we would do. He's probably
Right.
done some equity before. I think I've read that you
Yeah.
did some equity.
Yes, so so I do equity. So banks are basically, they're called reserve-based lending facilities.
Okay.
And they're collateralized first lien loans with banks.
A lot of words.
And so
help
they
me
were,
understand.
So
Help
for a
me
long time
understand,
they were very
Howard.
popular. You had Wells Fargo, you had J.P. Morgan,
Right.
you had Bank of America, all the big banks
Right.
were in it. Every time there was a crash in the markets, which happened about every 5-6 years.
Yes.
Some banks would drop out, then they'd come back in.
Okay.
After COVID, you really saw a lot of the bigger banks drop out. There's
Okay.
still some in there, but they were harder to work with.
Got it.
But you've seen a lot of smaller banks now
Okay.
have come in and hired some oil and gas people from the bigger banks to come in and lead their teams and get some energy financing.
We're recording.
Because it's all collateralized.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Absolutely.
But
All right.
the key is the bank doesn't want to own the assets, so they really look at the operating team
Yeah.
and want to get confidence in the accounting and the
Yeah.
assets.
I see. So whenever you're coming into a company and you're helping them get on the right side of the ledger, something like that, what's one of the first things that you do?
You have to. There's two things you have to look at real quickly: are the reserves
Okay.
and the accounting.
Okay.
Because those are the two things the banks are going to look at.
All right. Well, fair enough.
So there's a lot of compliance issues with the banks
Okay.
that you have to fulfill.
Okay.
So you have to make sure that those can be met, and then
Okay.
for the assets, that there's enough of a coverage ratio to cover how much the borrowing base becomes.
What gets you the most excited about doing what you do?
I guess because I started at a very young age
Yeah.
doing it and worked well into my 60s.
Uh-huh.
And I got the one thing about oil and gas is a lot of transition.
Right.
A lot
Always.
of the
It's-
companies who are with are gone now.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
you get into a lot
And
of
some good and some bad.
some good,
I mean,
some bad.
yeah,
That's definitely. But you get a lot of different experiences, and I've been fortunate to have a lot of overseas work,
Yeah.
and so to get to do a lot of traveling and see a lot
Yes.
of different things. And
The
I
Congo. I mean, that's pretty
The
cool.
Congo, yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
actually set up.
Well, you
an-
imagine too. Banks will only loan you about as much. It's like if you have $1, they'll loan you 50 cents.
Well, they want a very
You know,
strong
it's-
coverage ratio.
They're not. Yeah. So there's different types of instruments, credit instruments, debt
Yeah.
instruments that you can go after, and it's not easy in the oil and gas business. But the only thing is, you can really grow fast and
Right.
sell, and if you have that type of track record, or if you have that kind of an asset.
You have a few different firms now have come in and done a lot of private credit in the oil and
Okay.
gas space,
Okay.
where they might be willing to do a bigger deal than maybe some of the banks are.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
But again, they go for it's fully collateralized.
Yeah.
They own all the assets.
Yeah.
That feels risky to me. I'm like, I don't know.
But that's what you have to do on an oil and gas deal, basically.
Yeah.
You can stump your toe. You can stump your toe and lose your asset, which we've done. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
We did that, man. That was not very much fun at all, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's just trying to find that great relationship with somebody and having the equity side. That's the great thing about what we do, and that's what I wanted to build up a few years ago is let's build up our equity, equity. Let's build it up. Let's drill some good wells. And then we'll go get debt afterwards, grow the business, and then sell a portion of it or all of it or whatever to make a good return for clients. So
right, the banks definitely want it to be well capitalized, the company, and have the ability to bring in more capital in case the price turns against the assets.
I see.
And that's why in most agreements they're also going to insist on a certain amount of hedging.
Oh, okay.
Where you hedge a percentage of your production, so they know that at least there'll be enough to cover the interest payments.
Gosh, there's like so many things to think about. Does it ever make you nervous, like as you're growing your business, Jay, to be like, okay, we're going to continue to grow and we're going to keep doing this, but is there ever a moment where you're still like, man, I'm a little nervous about this, but we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen.
I woke up this morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, thinking about, okay, we can't take any risk. We've got to go and drill the wells that we know it's, the old, and,
right.
You just want to stay on point because a lot of times you want to do things that I'll say fun, but it's a little bit riskier, but if it works out, it's going to be
a big return.
So you're like, so it is. And I want to be boring for the next 2-3 years. I want to be real boring and just drill some really good wells in good areas so we can grow our business and make our returns back for our clients. So, hey, we can do something in 3 to 5 years, but let's just got to be boring for a couple of years, and let's work hard. We've looked at another business, oil field service business, right now that we really haven't announced, but I'm really excited about it. Trying to figure out exactly what that looks like, but I feel really good about the oil and gas industry and what we're doing and what's out there.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I'm more the optimist side. There's the engineer, geologist. So I'm more the optimistic, and I'm a driver. I'm a grinder, man.
But I always feel like it's like the two, like you have the accounting side and the finance side, and then you have like the sales side, and I feel like those kind of like there's this kind of natural like tug and pull, tug and push with those two departments, because the accounting's like, we can't afford it, or like this doesn't work in the book, and sales is like, but it could do this, So there's definitely that. How do you manage that kind of dynamic?
Well, I think so. Again, coming in the accounting side, there's always a push to watch costs, and I think where you do that is as you get ready to drill a well, when you meet with the operating guys and you go over the AFEs, really look at synergies they can do to help keep the price.
What's an AFE?
Authorization for expenditure. Whenever you do a large capital expenditure in the oil and gas business, you have to have an AFE. And if you have partners,
how much is the well going to cost? The forecast of how much the well is going to cost.
Yeah, and you look at the economics. This is always a kind of if the well's successful, in different ranges, what's the rate of return? So I think that is really the key in there. And then as you get production, you look at where prices are. Do you want to hedge to kind of lock in a certain return?
Got it. Well, I have one last question here. Jay, I'm sure you have so many questions. Is there anything off of the top of your head that you're like, all right, I really want to know blank? What would that be?
Well, I don't know. What I'm just trying to think what's your...
You already know what my last question is.
I know. We've been around a while. No, not really. I think I'm good. I do want to ask you, we're going to have a live, well, not live, but we're going to have, if you watch Landman.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna ask 50 people here. What did you like about Landman? What was true or false?
I love that. Yeah, that's great.
What part of Landman do you want to talk about, and was it true or false?
Well, I can tell you from Laredo, in our Landman, he was in South Texas a lot.
Yeah.
He was never held by the cartel. he was never tied up.
Fair enough. If you were able to talk to your 18-year-old self, knowing what you know now, and seeing your career as it's panned out, what's one piece of advice you would give to yourself?
I think that early on in my career, when I had the opportunity to stay overseas in a bad country, a tough country, I probably would have done it longer.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Why is that?
Because I got a lot of experience. I did a lot of networking, met a lot of people that I worked with, know 40 years later.
Yeah.
Even one of the guys that worked for me in the Congo is in touch with me. He now lives in the States.
I was going to say, sorry.
I would have done that more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Being overseas is a totally different experience. And if you're able to travel, definitely do so. You just can't learn as much if you're just reading about it versus
That's right.
experiencing it. So great piece of advice.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure talking
same
with
here.
you, Howard. Really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing the business relationship and as it pans out.
Hey,
and- and
well, we're
everything
gonna
that
do it.
happens.
We're gonna do it. Howard's gonna help us, and we got the two sides of our business, and Howard's gonna help us with a third. So
Yeah, there
we're
you go.
Very excited about it. So thank you, Howard. Good
All
seeing
right,
you.
thank you. Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.